Okay, let's be real. If you are pursuing a career in procurement and supply chain, whatever it is, right? Then there are two options as far as your career path is concerned. One, you get employed. Two, you start your own business. Now, supposing you get employed, you're just employed in someone else's business, okay? And if you're like, well, I'm in public sector, employed by the government, cool. Once you're done signing papers and moving files around in the name of policies, in order for things to actually happen, you'll have to do tenders. And those tenders means you'll just give an entrepreneur a contract to do something, to supply something. So the point here is whichever route you take, business and entrepreneurship still remains the underlying structure. So the point of this video is actually to tell you, or rather to show you, supply chain businesses you can start, okay? Whether you're employed or not. So these are some of the supply chain businesses you can start. And at any point as you're going on, if you find this video valuable, okay, make sure you subscribe. Why? Because, well, first of all, it won't cost you anything. And number two, it will just mean that now I have an excuse to say, I have a YouTube channel, a big one, the best in procurement. The next time I'm in the gym and someone asks me, hey, what do you do? Okay, so hit the subscribe button. Now let's move on. Number one, last mile delivery services. We always start with logistics. Okay, no, we don't always start with logistics, but the point is, if you have no idea what business you want to start in any supply chain, just think logistics. And by the way, supply chain is part of every other business you can think of, including just putting this video on YouTube, okay? The camera must have gotten here somehow. The guys who are supplying the internet, those cables, okay? The whatever it is. The point is supply chain, as long as there is a business, it's part of supply chain. And as long as it's part of supply chain, there is logistics. Now, in terms of last mile delivery, you're simply talking about the business offers delivery from a distribution center to the customer's doorstep. And especially if you're dealing with e-commerce business, so there's a huge market for that. Why? Because in e-commerce, okay, you buy something, like click a button. Now, whatever, you've just clicked a button and then you put in some details, your card details, and then money has been chucked from your account. Or if you're using PayPal, chop, money gone. Next, you expect somebody to knock the door or ding dong and deliver that thing. So how did they deliver that thing? I don't care, I just want it there. So that's last mile delivery, especially if you are taking that thing from where it was to the customer. That's what you're talking about, okay? Otherwise, if it is through the sea and all that, that's shipping and something else. We're not talking about that, okay? We are starting small. Now, the reason why this business is good is because there is a high market demand. There is recurring revenue, okay? There is low technical skills needed. But then again, you have to remember that there is intense competition, especially since whatever you are doing can easily be done by some random motorcycle rider if they don't want to carry someone. They'll be like, well, I'm not carrying people, so I'm free. Give me that TV that guy ordered. Yeah, I've never really understood how people buy. Like, somebody buys a Samsung TV, right? A big one, like 43 inches and above. So that's big. And then they have it delivered by some motorcycle rider. I don't know, maybe whatever. So that guy is going to do that, okay? So that's your competition. There is also the question of fuel and driver cost. These are things you have to factor in. The trick here will be to start by focusing on a given niche. So don't just be random. So you can say, I'm going to do last mile delivery, and then I'm focusing on this particular niche. I mean, as simple as walking to a local supermarket, okay, the local supermarkets, and say, look, how about this? How about you outsource? Anytime you have customers who've bought something and your car is not around or whatever it is, instead of saying we'll deliver tomorrow, why don't you just outsource that thing and then I deliver it for you? It's going to be cheaper than you guys using your, whatever. Okay, plus it's faster. Those people who deliver, there are people who have those, what are they called? The LPGs, okay? The gas. So you buy that, they buy that, and then they expect delivery. Like the same thing happens for me. Anytime that thing runs out, I'll be like, yo, bring one. The guy shows up with a cylinder, they connect and all that stuff. So I don't know, like that's a thing. Okay, so you can be the guy doing that. And that is just on a smaller scale. So think as big as you want, but the concept is the same. Okay, what you're doing is making sure that thing finally gets the customer. That is last mile delivery. There is a whole thing about this. If you like, you can check out my videos on logistics. Okay. Number 2, third-party logistics, warehousing, and fulfillment. If you analyze supply chains, you'll realize that things don't just move from the manufacturer, supplier direct to the customer. Okay. In between there's going to be warehouses, and there's a lot of logistics. And for the most part, a company doing that may not really have the personnel or the time to handle all that logistics. So what they do is they outsource to third party. So you become that third party. I mean, think of it this way. Let's say somebody's selling something online, like one of those influencers. Half the time, the things they are talking about, they don't even have them. And if they have them, they don't have them in plenty. So you can be the guy with the space, okay? And they're dealing with like 50 of these influencers, just depending on the product they're dealing with. You stock those things, and you charge them a fee, obviously. So whenever they make an order through their Instagram or their TikToks or whatever it is, you're quickly updated, you do the fulfillment on their behalf. So the customer doesn't care. They only know, I saw this guy and then I bought something and then it was delivered. You are the guy who's making that happen. Now, of course, there is the advantage to this business, first of all, is you have recurring revenue from storage and fulfillment fees. Okay, you also have a large client base since you're going to be dealing with many of these influencers, right? Or many of these people, these customers. Okay, it doesn't have to be the influencers. I'm just using that because, whatever. But it could be any business. But the disadvantage or the flip side is it requires warehouse space, and that costs you money. There is also inventory risk. Okay, this business will also work if you have some logistics experience. Otherwise, you'll be part of the people who say businesses are hard. Of course, they are hard. Everything is hard. Okay, that's just life. So, speaking of logistics, if you want crash course on logistics, just check out in the description. Okay, there's one, Mastering Logistics, an entire video series with questions and whatever. You can get that one out. You can check that one out, just link in the description. Now, moving on. Number 3, freight brokerage. Now, in this case, you want to be part of the supply chain. You want to be part of the people who are actually making things happen. Meaning what? Meaning something came from China to your country, something came from Germany to your country. You want to be part of the people who made that thing happen. Except you just connect shippers and carriers without owning trucks and ship. So that's pretty much what these freight brokerages people do. Why? Think of it this way. There is someone right now who has a farm. Okay? Probably know them. They're even your relative. They have this farm. They plant a lot of stuff. They've planted maize or even beans or bananas or watermelon or whatever it is, pineapples. Okay? And then they don't know how to get those things to the city. So usually what happens is that they have to wait for some guy to show up and say, I'm buying a sack for this amount of money. Why don't you become the person who connects those farmers, okay, with the people who need these things in the city? You are the intermediary. So you're the one who says, okay, for you guys, all those bags, blah, 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 plus these, and these are the trucks, and you connect the people with the trucks so that, but that will mean having some local knowledge. Okay, but it's just an example. If you're going into agriculture, then that's one way to do freight brokerage, but in the agriculture sector. I mean, the whole point is taking a concept and then boiling it down to the simple way it becomes practical. Otherwise, if you sit there and then you think, well, I want to be like DHL. The reason why you know DHL is because they became big enough for you to know them. Okay? So don't start by like those people who watch the Elons, okay? And then the Peter Thiels and then the whatever, these billionaire types, like, I want to be like, yeah, it's good to have those dreams. But the reason why you know them is because they became big enough for you to know them. But they weren't always big enough at start, okay? So start from where you are. That's pretty much the thing. Just think of who you are yesterday and say, I want to be better than that person. And then you progress and soon, maybe you are that big. Maybe. Okay? The pros in this case are you don't own any assets. Okay? And then the profit is equally strong. But then remember, the business will require proper sales skills. You also have to learn freight rules. So there's a lot of learning going on here because if you're becoming a freight brokerage, depending on the market you are in, there are rules and regulations regarding the things you're dealing with that you must understand. So you'll have to learn those ones. Okay? Number 4, inventory management and technology tools. In this case, we are going the technology way. By the way, there's there's a whole thing on businesses, like in this case, logistics technology businesses that you can start. Okay, so if you want like 19 of them, actually there are more than 19. If you just want to know those ones, I've added that, so check that out in the description. Plus PDF you can download, it's there. Okay, now moving on. In this case, you can be doing softwares for tracking stock levels, forecasting demand, or barcode automation. The software business. It is a software business that you are in, right? Except it's software business but in supply chain from a supply chain perspective. So the software business has a number of advantages. For example, software as a service can generate recurring revenue, plus you get to sell it to the global market. On the other hand, because if it has advantage, it has disadvantages, it requires technical skills and you get to compete with brands that are established. The easiest way to go about this is actually to partner with somebody who's good at softwares. And then you become the business intelligence person. Like, you know what needs to be developed, they know how to develop it. Because if you're like, I want to do everything on my own, yeah, I mean, you'll really suffer. You'll be like, you know those people who go through hard times in life. And most of the time it's because of their own stupid decisions. But then they'll be like, the reason I'm going through this is because God is trying to teach me a lesson. No, no, it's because you made a stupid mistake. I mean, it wasn't just a mistake, it was a stupid one. So, and then you want to justify your suffering by saying, I'm working hard and therefore I'm going to. No, okay? Look, get someone who's good at doing that. Partner with them, okay? And then you handle what you're good at, understanding the supply chain. They handle what they're good at, understanding the coding. Now you become a team and the thing can work. Next, return logistics and reverse supply chain. This one is not that complicated. So think of it this way. Logistics can flow that way, right? So the buyer or the manufacturer, the supplier, the seller, blah, 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 the buyer, right? So upstream operations, downstream operations, all that's logistics. But then if you buy something and you realize it's not what you wanted, so what do? You return it, right? So the process that takes it from you all the way back to where it's supposed to go, that's reverse logistics. Now, the reason why this becomes a business opportunity is if you think about it as a professional, when companies are planning forward logistics, well, most of those things are predictable. They know how many things are going to fit in this lorry, route optimization so that they don't spend a lot on fuel and waste time. Okay, they even know the customers and what the customers expects. But as for when a customer doesn't want that thing, that's hard to predict because it won't be like 30 of those people won't want these things and therefore we'll have this lorry there to bring those things back. So that's another problem. And that is where you come in. So you solve those minor isolated problems. And if you bought a laptop, most of the time, most likely if you bought a laptop, you're told it's X UK, or you bought some furniture and they told it's X Denmark, or whatever it is. I mean, with furniture, you just go to that guy who makes them and you just, But whatever. The point is, most of those things are just part of reverse logistics. Okay? It's like those televisions that you go and get, like there are lots of them there, and then you buy and they're like, why is this thing cheap here and it's expensive at the dealership and that's original? What's happening? In most of the time, that's probably one that had a problem that had to be, something had to be fixed, refurbished. I think that's the word. And then they sell it. So that refurbished is just part of reverse logistics. So you are in that business. In this case, you are handling returns, recycling, and refurbishing unsold inventory. So this again is just one of those fields that you love to pick a niche. Okay, you have to niche. You have to pick a niche. Okay, and decide this is the one that I'm starting with, and if I'm so good, then I can expand. Okay, or you can just go to various manufacturers and say, anytime there is this and that, let me know. I'll handle the reverse logistics on your behalf. As for refurbishing, maybe you have your people who are good at doing that, and whatever. That's a business opportunity. Again, as I said, if you are struggling to understand reverse logistics, I've added a complete video on that. Okay, what it is, how it works, everything on that nature. Check it out, because the rest of these things are fairly straightforward. This could be the one that you're thinking, well, seems like there's an idea there, but I have no idea on how it works despite being good at supply chain. So check that one out. Next, cold chain logistics. And as the name suggests there, you're going to have to specialize in what? In cold stuff, okay? So this means temperature controlled transport and storage. So this could be things like food and pharmaceuticals. And the pros here are, strong demand, since most of what you're dealing with is perishable. And of course, there are high margins. Now, as far as the cons are concerned, okay, the bad side, very high equipment costs. Why? Because for starters, you're going to be dealing with the refrigerated trucks, the reefers, and those things are not cheap because these are trucks with fridge on the back. Okay, one, they're not cheap, and number two, you are dealing with regulatory compliance, especially if you're dealing with pharmaceuticals. So the thing you have to remember here with these reefer trucks is that unlike a normal lorry, if it isn't doing, transporting cabbages or whatever it is, you can use it to transport something else, tomatoes or even furniture. It's just a normal lorry, okay? But with a refrigerated truck, if it isn't transporting the pharmaceuticals or fish or whatever it is, flowers, you can't be like, well, those people want to move machines and now I can offer transport. Ask for transport. You're not going to do ask for transport with that type of a truck. So that's something you have to take into account. Which of these businesses are good for beginners? And let's see, the top 3 businesses that you can start as a beginner here are number 1, freight brokerage. Why? Because it has a lower startup cost and it's scalable. Because we said you just have to learn the rules regarding the area that you're dealing with, okay? Because if you're connecting people who want to bring things from China or take things to China, you need to understand the import-export rules. Same with if you're doing it for US or Malaysia or whatever it is, that Singapore. Anyway, I don't know, just put a country there. Understand those rules. Number 2, last mile delivery, because the entry, ease of entry, okay, especially if you have partners. We have inventory tools, okay. So in this case, just need a tech partner. And the cool thing with that, it has the highest return on investment because you're dealing with software, especially if you're dealing with software as a platform. Now, there's that. Let me know what you think. Let me know what sort of business you want me to talk about in the next video. Otherwise, see you in the next video.